Hello and welcome to Native Yoga Center. My name is Todd McLaughlin and I'm here in Juno Beach, Florida. And today, yoga modifications for spondylolisthesis. And so I have spondylolisthesis. There's a good chance that if you're watching this video, you also have low back pain, which you can benefit from hearing this even if you have not received a spondylolisthesis diagnosis. If you do have a spondylolisthesis diagnosis, then either you are in extreme pain, and I can speak from experience, or you've already figured out how to get out of extreme pain, and you're curious, how can I practice the yoga class that I love and take good care of my back at the same time? And so today I want to just focus on one, I'm going to say simple movement, but I realize that if you're new to understanding and feeling your body and working with your body, that this won't seem simple. But I'm going to break it down so it is simple for you to understand. You can implement this in a lot of different poses. All right, so the first thing that I want to point out is that we have a movement in yoga called the Surya Namaskar, or the sun salutation, where we lift our arms above the head. Seems like a fairly simple movement, correct? Well, what I want you to do is watch from the sideline my spine when I make this movement. Right now, I'm in a relatively neutral position. And when I raise my arms above my head, what happens with my back? Let me do it a few times. So right now, I'm relatively neutral. This motion is called flexion, and this motion is called extension. So now to point out, maybe you have the question, what in the world is spondylolisthesis? How do I know if I have it? Well, you would have gotten an MRI and or an X-ray, and either a chiropractor or an orthopedic probably would have read it and said, you're a spondy, or you have a spondylolisthesis. What that means is that one of the vertebrae along the spinal column has slipped forward. This slips forward. So now actually it can slip forward, it can slip back, or it can slip to the side. So the style that I have, sounds weird, is mine has slipped forward. So anytime I do excessive back bending, it presses on the nerve and creates pressure on the spinal cord due to stenosis, which is where the place where the spinal cord travels through, the bone closes in on the spinal cord. So if you're in a lot of pain, like you can't even get up and move and walk around, or even when you sit, lay down, whatever you do, you're in excruciating pain, there's a good chance there's spinal nerve compression. And so what we notice then, if we have an anterior slip, that means the vertebra has slid forward. And this tutorial will be predominantly for those of you that have that, because if your vertebra has moved forward, then back bending, very likely, everybody's going to be different. So that's why I think it's still important, pay attention and listen, because you can utilize these sort of ideas as you move forward. You're just going to have to tailor them specific to your needs. So when you have an anterior slide forward, back bending is really rough. Often when there's a posterior slide, forward bending would exacerbate the compression. So what I'm going to show you here is really going to be predominantly for you that has a slide forward. All right, and I'm speaking from experience. That's how I'm talking from, because I have my own back pain. So watch, I go up. I'm going to exaggerate the movement. I go down. I go up. Now, every time I'm bringing my arms up, what's happening is my spine is going into extension, and this extension motion can put pressure down where there doesn't need to be more pressure. There's already enough pressure. So watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to take my ribs and I'm going to try to pull them in this way. So I'm actually in a little bit of a flexion position. Here I'm exaggerating it because I'm rounding forward, more than you might need to. But right now, watch, if I take my body and I consciously try to pull my ribs back and in, so that instead of compressing here into a back bend, I'm going to open that space up. I'm now going to hold these muscles firm and tight so that when I raise my arms above my head, I'm not going to be dipping back in this direction. I'm going to keep my chest, my ribs pulled in, keep your ribs pulled in. And even if my arms come forward, there's no problem with that. I mean, in my opinion, all the ideas about you have to do a yoga pose to perfection throw out the door. They fly out the window the moment you hit extreme pain. And I promise you, it'll change if that happens to you. So I don't care what I look like anymore. I'm not worried about what you think what I look like. So you got to adopt a similar strategy. So watch, when I raise my arms above the head, I'm actually keeping my back rounded here. So see the difference? Back bend, pulling ribs in, maintaining the movement. Now at this point, I'm just isolating the movement really to my shoulders. My arms and shoulders are moving, but my lumbar and my lower spine are not moving. So this takes a lot of attention to detail and skill. So coordination really, but just go really slow. In the beginning, don't do a bunch of yoga poses. Just start practicing being able to pull your belly in. And even when you stand, if I catch myself at the grocery store or wherever, standing here now, I might just kind of stand in a way that I slump and I let the curve of the back, I let that accentuate, and it hurts a little bit. When you're staying a long period of time, you have back pain down here. So what I'm going to try to do is when I stand, pull the belly in and just kind of use that drawing in of the transverse abdominis. The transverse abdominis is the deepest sheath of muscle in the belly. So you have your transverse abdominis, which is this big sheath that covers this whole section. Then you have the internal and external obliques. So they are the ones that cause you to be able to do trunk rotation or twisting motion. And then you have your rectus abdominis, which is your six-pack muscle that goes all the way from your sternum down to the pubic symphysis. So we will be engaging a little bit of rectus abdominis. The obliques can work, especially the external obliques can work to kind of stabilize this section. And we also can have the transverse abdominis is going to contract and kind of pull in. So now when I'm standing, I just kind of keep a very slight tucking of the tailbone under. So I find that with a little bit of bend of the knees and a very slight tuck, sometimes when I'm in real pain, like right now I'm not in any pain, as long as I just don't do a really big pressure into the back bend, it feels good to just stand. But if I'm having a really tough day, bending my knees a little bit and kind of keeping this rounding of the spine is, I know it looks a little funny right here, but I probably won't stand like this when I'm in line, but you know what I mean? You got to kind of start working where you try to take that pressure off. All right. Now, also remember, always consult with a physician. It's a really good idea to work closely with a medical professional so that you are getting feedback from somebody who really understands the body, has a very close understanding of what's going on. Okay. So now when I do a sun salutation, I'm going to hold this really stable. I'll raise up. And when I come forward, I'm going to bend my knees and try to keep my core relatively stable. And I'm not going to stick my hips back like this and do a back bend. I'm going to kind of keep the belly in and come down so that I'm in that rounded position. When you go to lift your head, you just move your head, your neck. You don't have to move your lumbar. And when you come down onto your knees, it's a similar thing. I'm going to keep a more of a cat pose position. Now, what I want to point out, though, is two other standing poses that you can implement the same idea. One that's really tough to do is Warrior One. Warrior One is a really tricky pose because when you have one leg forward and one leg back, when you stand up, this puts you into an extension position in your low back. So sometimes when my back's really rough, I hold Warrior One more like this. Notice that I have my belly in, and I'm trying to do a little bit more of a cat pose. So Warrior One, I'm not going to worry about bending really deep. I'm going to avoid this motion right here and coming down low. I'm going to keep my belly in and round and try to create this feeling like someone has a towel that they wrap around the belly and is pulling your belly back. Like someone's standing back here, they're holding the two ends of the towel, and that towel is coming around the front and they're pulling back. And it's actually a good exercise. If you have somebody to help you out with that, you can take a towel, wrap it around, and try to do Warrior One and have the belly pulling back like this, which is going to kind of open this space. All of this really depends on what stage of pain you are in. If you are in a level 9 or 10, don't be doing all these difficult poses. If you're in a 9 or 10, I think come into cat pose or get one of those big exercise balls and round over the ball and just try to take some of the pressure off of the compression and the stenosis. And don't tackle any of these bigger poses. This is, in my opinion, more like if you're having mild to moderate pain, you know what you need to do. And when you come into the warrior, you kind of keep a little bit more of this sort of position where you pull your belly in and you don't dip. The other one that's classic for overpressurizing back bend, which you might not think of as a back bend, is Utkatasana, chair pose. So in chair pose, what can happen is we bend the knees, and notice here when I'm in this squat, I'm in a back bend position. I'm more or less kind of going like this. I'm kind of going like this while I have my knees bent. So what we can do with the chair is tuck the tailbone under and actually round the back and kind of focus on keeping more of a open space on the posterior chain. Does that make sense? Leave a comment. I've been getting some really wonderful comments here on YouTube with, go to my YouTube channel. If you're watching this on a different social media platform, go to Native Yoga on YouTube and look at some of the comments on the spondylolisthesis videos I have. I have a playlist, Yoga for Spondylolisthesis. Check out all the videos that I'm trying to make videos regularly for those of us that have this condition, because I absolutely love yoga. I believe if you're watching, you probably love yoga or you're curious about starting a yoga practice. And what we need to do is just move the body in a way where we still go into some of these different positions, such as triangle pose, but I'm going to keep the openness in the back of the spine, and I'm not going to go into a really deep triangle. I want to focus on maintaining, keeping that sort of flexion state until the inflammation starts to go down and you feel like you can move a little differently. So comment, let me know what you think. Send me a message, info@nativeyogacenter.com. Go to my website, nativeyogacenter.com. I have tons of free resources for you to learn and study and practice. So make use of them. I hope they help. All the links are in the description. Have a great day. And I hope that you are not suffering, truly. Namaste.